All right. I've switched mics. I just deleted 20 minutes of me talking about this, so maybe I can make it more concise. I want to talk about how you should thank people in your life, even if you don't realize that you should, or I guess at least my experience with somebody like that. Um, just thanking people before you don't see them again. And I know a lot of people talk about this with their grandparents, their parents, that kind of stuff, family members. You should obviously take this into consideration for those people as well, but there's a lot of people you'll never meet again that aren't part of your family, you know? And I want to talk about one of those experiences with somebody that really helped me. So, back in seventh grade, I was, kind of antisocial, which is weird because only a few years earlier, back in, I want to say, from first to third grade, I was actually a pretty social kid, surprisingly. I would try to make people feel welcomed. I would try to make people, you know, make it so that people had a friend so that I could be there for them, I could talk to them, that kind of stuff. And um, I had never really experienced that personally on a personal level. I had never been the one on the receiving end of that because I was the one doing it for so long. And then fast forward to around seventh grade, I was very antisocial. Something had changed. I had gone through a lot. I started to really resent school. I started to resent a lot of things about just school, the way it operated, and my life at the time. I just really wasn't happy at all. And so this girl, right, was the locker below me. So in my school, you had lockers one on top of the other, and that was really annoying because you basically had to let one person go and get their bottom locker and another person go and get their top locker. So top locker kids tended to be taller, short locker kids tended to be shorter, right? Bottom locker kids. But anyway, this girl, she basically said hi to me. She was like, "Hey, what's your name? Since we're gonna have to be coming to these lockers all year, might as well get to know you." And so I said my name. She said hers, and we'll call her M. M was a very very kind person, very nerdy looking as well. A lot of freckles on her face, uh, big old glasses. She was a kind soul though. All right, and it was funny because it turned out we had all of our classes together, except for electives, which meant course and band for me. So we had all of our elected or not electives, all of our classes together, our main classes, and we were both in Reach, which if you don't know is just, I guess you could call it like AP classes, I guess, where you got two different classes. ELA and science were supposedly higher versions of the core ELA and science classes, even above the advanced kids. But it never felt like that because, everybody got to dissect frogs that year and we didn't. So now that really shows how much they care about the quote unquote smart kids. But also, that's something I disagree with. "Quote unquote smart kids are always the ones in Reach." That's not true because plenty of those kids in Reach were not very bright, but got in there anyway because they got good grades and low grades. Which I was probably one of those kids who just kind of got held over. But I also didn't try very hard, so that's another big thing that I want to talk about that M actually helped me with. I was very very resentful of school at this time. I did not like going to school. I did not like um, the way it operated. I would oftentimes get sick to my stomach just thinking about going to school. When I got homework, it would be given to me, and I would say, okay, and then I would go home and hop on my Xbox and not do any of the homework because I thought that was stupid. I thought homework was dumb and it made no sense and it shouldn't even be a thing. And so, even though I made good grades in classes, I made decent grades, on tests and things like that. When I got to really, uh, like my main class grades, like the overall grades, they were very low, barely passing, and oftentimes they were failing. But M was there, and she would talk to me a lot, and I would often kind of, just because she was there and because she talked to me a lot, I would kind of confide in her a little bit. Say, yeah, I'm constantly failing classes. I'm constantly doing this. She was like, well, I mean, I you're clearly not like dumb. I believe in you. I think you can do it. That was very nice to hear. But kind of as the year went on, I would confide in her a little more, and she would often be like, "So why don't you just do the work?" Like, I don't know. It's just something I get home and my brain shuts off. I can't do it. And she definitely tried her best to keep me on track. She was very nice. She was always there for me. I think she kind of understood my plight, my pleas for help, even if they were silent. And she stayed by my side kind of that whole year. She let me sit with her at the lunch table, and that's big. That's big news, bro. If you're sitting next to somebody at the lunch table at that age, y'all are chilling for real. But it. She had her other friends, obviously, and they were all mostly in Reach as well because we kind of all had those classes together or very similar classes together. A lot of overlap would happen with the Reach kids because they had completely different versions of other classes, which means they went to completely different classrooms. So you either got lucky or very unlucky on if you had to walk through the whole school to get to your classroom or not. But I digress. So we were going to lunch and we just all sat down. And I kind of would sit away from everybody. And you went to lunch with your Reach classmates. You went to lunch during Reach, or at least we did. We did because ours was third and fourth period, or that might be no. We had one was third period, the other was much later. The other was like end of the day, like second to last period that we had. And so it just, it ended up we would sit at the lunch table, talk, and she would kind of be there, and this other group of misfits, I just hit the mic, my bad. And this other group of essentially misfits would be there, but they were all much more sociable than me. Even if they were the nerds, they found each other, you know what I mean? They talked to each other, they would understand each other, and I did not. So I would often sit at the lunch table very quietly, kind of off in my own world, and just minding my business. And there was there was a lot of times where Em and I would be talking, and I'd try to relate to her in a couple areas like, hey, what do you like to watch? Do you play any games? Do you what do you do? What do you do for fun? She said that she mostly focused on her schoolwork, and I obviously didn't do that. But she said she likes to go out, just do things, just a lot of different things. She liked to watch movies. She liked to just kind of do like normal things a kid would do at that age. And she didn't play very many video games. She didn't really watch YouTube or anything. She watched like PewDiePie. Um, but I was number one. I was big on watching YouTube at this time, and I still am. I was also very, very big on video games. Obviously, I would come home and I would play video games. They were the only form of solace I had at this time, and they continue to be one of my very few forms of solace in anything at all. And you'll definitely be seeing some gameplay in the background. But I personally, couldn't relate to her on the things that we did, but she still talked to me. She still was very kind to me, and kept my she kept this energy throughout the whole year of being very, very thoughtful in approaching me and trying to help me. And she would kind of nudge me in the direction. She'd be like, "Hey, that assignment last night was pretty easy, right?" You know what I mean? It was a homework assignment. I'd be like, "I didn't do that. I didn't even do it yet." She's like, "Come on, man, you can do it. Like, you can do it at lunch. Trust me. Just bring your Chromebook. Come on, like, I believe in you." And there were some assignments she definitely got me through, and she helped me. I would like to say subconsciously, she helped me pass that year for sure. Um, but the thing is, after that year, I never saw her again. I went to a completely different school after that. I went to a just a completely different school. Not that I moved or anything, but it was a school of opportunity for me. They let you do a lot of things with uh, like very hands-on classes, right? Woodworking classes and film classes and stuff like that. Just just classes that would help you kind of find what you wanted to find. And at this time, I had a lot of pressure on me from my family to figure out what I wanted to do. They would always ask, they would always talk about it, they'd always loom it over my head, not in a malicious way or anything, but it was always there. And the rest of my family was smart, very, very smart. And it felt like I was a black sheep. And it felt like I couldn't, you know, I couldn't relate to my family anymore because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I was going. I felt very lost. And M helped me. She helped me a lot. And when I did finally get that opportunity for that other school, I took it. Of course I did. It felt like it would help me. It would help me find what I wanted to do. I could talk to my family and be like, yeah, I'm looking. Like, these classes are helping. It's making me decide what I want to do. And they definitely helped a little bit, but they weren't the driving force behind, sorry, finding what I truly wanted. And um, I remember I would go to I would go to classes in this new school, and it felt lonely again, very, very lonely again. And I couldn't put my finger on it until one day I was sitting in my film class and I looked at everyone around me and I realized something. I realized I don't have a buddy. Nobody talked to me really, and I didn't really talk to anybody else. I would make casual conversation here and there, very, very casual, very light. I would talk to these people, but I was very quiet. I didn't talk to these people very much, and they didn't feel a need to talk to me either. And sometimes they would, and I would enjoy talking to these people, but it was very much so a classmate kind of talking, not a friendship talking. And it reminded me that M was a saving grace. It made me realize M was a saving grace to me in that year. And I just didn't grasp it until it was too late. I didn't grasp how much she had helped me. And I realized I never thanked her. I would argue it was because of her I even passed seventh grade. The fact that I even got into this other school at all was a miracle. It's a lottery to be able to get in, when you're still in middle school. And I was able to take my last year of middle school in a place I enjoyed more, but also a place I felt far more lonely in. And I wish I could have said thank you. I wish I could have said thank you to her. I wish I could have seen her again. And you know, it's something I've thought about these past couple years since I've graduated, high school, and I never saw her again. I have no clue where she is. She could be off in Japan or some random place in the world, and I would never know. I would never know where she is. So I just want to say, you know, even if it never reaches her, she'll probably never see it. I want to say thank you now. Thank you. Thank you for helping me through that. And I want everybody else who watches this to also have the strength to realize that sometimes you don't get to say thank you. And it hurts. But it's a lesson to remind yourself to think about it more often with other people, with the new people you meet. Thank them. Really show that you appreciate them and that things that they do are felt. Um, really, it's really hard to. It is really hard to. But I hope everybody can maybe take a little form of advice from this experience. I think it's something everybody should try and do. Um, just thank the people in your life for the things that they do. And on that note, I think I'm done, and I'll see you later.